to go. Hello there, welcome to another video here on this Esoteric Circle YouTube channel. My name is Pete Haskins and that is Wanda. We're down here at our favorite spot. It's a cool, brisk, late September morning here. It's my first Sunday off from church as an adult. So just wanted to sit down and just kind of share with you how things are going, and just so glad that you're here with me. And don't think I'll be here very long because Wanda is wanting to go down the path. So either way, thank you for being here and blessings to you on your journey. One of the things that I've done this morning is just take time just to be quiet. Not only over coffee and just walking with the dogs and just being out here in the Menominee River, but just being here in nature and allowing God to speak to me. And that is a sacrifice in our day and age, isn't it? It's a luxury, and I well acknowledge that. But it is a sacrifice to sit here and say, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to play this game, I just want to be silent and quiet. And this turning inward is one of the keys to our growth. And if you do not have a method of turning inward, whether it's the Jesus prayer or whatever you use, reading or going inward, what does that mean to you, going inward? When we go inward in our day and age, we realize that we are a holy mess because we have so many voices, we have so many ideas, we have so many thoughts that are going on in our mind that it is almost impossible to find true silence. And this, what is called metanoia, this turning inward, and this issue of silence, which is called hesychasm in the Orthodox Church, is an essential part of your spirituality. So let's talk more about what that means, because if you do not have some practical method of doing this, what's the point, right? So first of all, the first thing that you have to do is you have to take time. You have to take the time, block out time. My time is in the mornings. I cannot do anything at night. I am so scattered at night. I would have to spend a half an hour of meditation just to be able to sit down. So I take that time, what Gurdjieff calls this forming of the magnetic center, this crystallization, but it takes sacrifice. And I want to read something to you here from Gurdjieff. Been reading In Search of the Miraculous here recently and spent time this morning doing this. It's been awesome. I just have enjoyed it so much. It's like spending time with a friend, you know. And he writes this, Ouspensky writes this, Gurdjieff saying, fusion, inner unity, is obtained by means of friction, by the struggle between yes and no in man. If a man lives without inner struggle, if everything happens in him without opposition, if he goes wherever he is drawn or wherever the wind blows, he will remain such as he is. But if a struggle begins in him, and particularly if there is a definite line in the struggle, then gradually permanent traits begin to form themselves and begins to crystallize. But crystallization is possible on a right foundation, and it is possible on a wrong foundation. Friction, the struggle between yes and no, can easily take place on a wrong foundation. For instance, a fanatical belief in some or other idea or the fear of sin can evoke a terribly intense struggle between yes and no, and a man may crystallize on these foundations. But this would be wrong, incomplete. crystallization. Such a man will not possess the possibility of further development. In order to make further development possible, he must be melted down again. And this can be accomplished only through terrible suffering. Crystallization is possible on any foundation, he continues. Take, for example, a brigand, a really good, genuine brigand. I knew such brigands in the Caucasus. He will stand with a rifle behind a stone by a roadside for 8 hours without stirring. Could you do this? All the time, mind you, a struggle is going on in him. He is thirsty and hot and flies are biting him, but he still stands still. Another is a monk, and he is afraid of the devil. All night long, he beats his head on the floor and prays. Thus, crystallization is achieved. In such ways, people can generate in themselves an enormous inner strength. They can endure torture. They can get what they want. This means that there is now in them something solid, something permanent. Such people can become immortal. But what is the good of it? A man of this kind becomes an immortal thing, although a certain amount of consciousness is sometimes preserved in him. But even this, it must be remembered, occurs very rarely. It says, I recollect the talks which followed that evening struck me by the fact that many people heard something entirely different to what G said. Others only paid attention to G's secondary and non-essential remarks and remembered only these. The fundamental principles in what G said escaped most of them. Only very few asked questions on the essential things he said. One of these questions has remained in my memory. Here's a question. In what way can one evoke the struggle between yes and no in oneself, someone asked. Here he says, sacrifice is necessary, said G. If nothing is sacrificed, nothing is obtained. And it is necessary to sacrifice something precious at the moment, to sacrifice for a long time, and to sacrifice a great deal. So in other words, if you're going to make progress on this path, this journey, you have to make sacrifices. You have to cut time out of your day. You have to meditate. You have to stop having negative thoughts. You've got to stop lying to yourself, lying to the world, lying to others at work and family. You've got to stop gossiping. And that's just the beginning. You have to take this inner discipline very, very seriously. Because essentially, I speak for myself, very, very undisciplined. We are not here to look holy. We are not here to look smart. This inner work, this path that we're on, especially in the fourth way, can attract people who are just in this just to look smart and look holy, and I don't know, this is weaponized very easily. You must do this with one aim, and that's toward evolution, toward higher consciousness. And the energy that is driving all of this is love. This is the love that God shows us through Jesus Christ. And that's what we're doing here. This is all based on the teachings of Christ and the mysteries that come before and after Christ. But the incarnation of God in the man from Nazareth is what we're doing here. And we rejoice in that, because that is the good news. And one of the great things is you have an opportunity to work on that. You have time. You have time. If you're listening to these words, especially at the end of this video, you have time. You have energy, right? Now you need sacrifice, and you need to develop will, and you need to develop a discipline. There are things that you need to cut out of your life. There are people that you need to cut out of your life. And it is time to take that very seriously. I'm going to walk with you, walk beside you as you do this. Wanda and I both will be here for you. Contact me in the comments if you want to join our group online. We're actually preparing for a retreat somewhere in the United States next June. So if you're interested in an online group on Saturdays, we have a movie group on Sundays once a month. A lot of things happening, but it's all about you, and it's all about the sacrifices and the evolution that you need to achieve that is already there for you. God's already done this work. It's time for you to accept it and work at it. Work. You have to work at this. It takes sacrifice. Blessings to you, and thank you so much for all your support and your love, and it's just great being here. It feels awesome being out here this morning. This is my church, all right? This is church. Blessings to you. You ready to go? Let's go.